The Queen Mary ship is a retired ocean liner that sailed the North Atlantic from 1936 to 1967. The ship became famous for taking troops that helped defeat Hitler during World War II. The ship retired in December of 1967. The Queen Mary is now permanently docked in Long Beach, California, giving guests a unique hotel experience. The Queen Mary ship has multiple paranormal hotspots including Stateroom B340, where a passenger passed away in 1948. Since the 1960s, guests have complained about bizarre experiences in B340, which the room is still available for guests to stay in on this day. There are some ghosts that are common seen by many guests who visit the ship. The White Lady who supposedly checked in but never checked out. Guests and workers have reported sightings of the White Lady, a woman floating at the end of a first-class lounge called the Queen's Salon, dressed in a white evening gown for more than half a century. There's also little Jackie, who drowned at age 5 in the ship's second-class pool, which is now the Royal Theatre. Some people say there is also Jackie's little friend Sarah, who also drowned in the pool in 1949. John Henry is also another ghost who used to work in the boiler room, and that's where his remains were found. Ghost hunters reported seeing Henry's shadowy figure lurking between the boiler room and the green room. Some guests even claim to have spoke to Henry. One of the most memorable ghosts is Grumpy the Growling Ghost. His identity is not known, but he growls at all the guests. He lurks in a room under the stairs near the first-class swimming pool and sometimes joins Henry in the boiler room. Captain Treasure Jones was the last captain of the active Queen Mary, sailing the ship from 1965 to 1967 from Southampton to Long Beach. He was well known on the ship for his love of cigars. Visitors report smelling cigar smoke in the captain's quarters. John Pedder died on the Queen Mary in its time of service, along the 49 other reported deaths at the time. Door 13 on the ship located in the shaft alley crusher the 18-year-old crewman to death when he was playing chicken with another crew member. He is known to leave behind a greasy hand print in the area where he roams. The creepiest of the Queen Mary deaths is Dana. Legends say that someone murdered a young woman named Dana and her family in room B474. The killer strangled Dana's little sister and mother on the bed and then shot Dana to death in the bathroom. Dana's spirit can be found lurking with the other ghostly children in the second-class pool and sometimes in the boiler room. A 1909 building, the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park in Colorado, has been reporting paranormal activity since the 1970s. Freeland Oscar Stanley was an inventor, entrepreneur, and architect. In 1903, Stanley was given less than 6 months to live due to tuberculosis. The doctor recommended fresh dry air, sunlight, and a healthy diet, but he would likely be dead before summer ends. Stanley and his wife headed for the Rocky Mountains for their last trip as a family. However, within just a couple months, Stanley was hiking 5 miles a day and nowhere near death anymore. He fell in love with the valley in Estes Park, and it gave him a second chance at life. In 1907, Stanley wanted to turn Estes Park into a resort town. He began construction for the Stanley Hotel that year. Both Stanley and his wife died in 1940 due to a stroke and heart failure. Their ghosts are said to be in the Stanley Hotel together. The Stanley Hotel is said to be the Disneyland for ghosts. Everyone who visits always has a ghost experience there. It has hosted countless paranormal investigators, all coming to the conclusion of many hauntings in this hotel. Ghostly occurrences have been reported in almost every room in the hotel. From shadow figures, to laughs around the hotel, flickering lights, footsteps, items moving on their own, anything you can imagine has happened in this hotel. In 1911, during a large storm, the head housekeeper, Mrs. Wilson, was lighting the lanterns in room 217 when there was an explosion. She was blasted through the floor into T.H.R. McGregor dining room below the room. She survived with 2 broken ankles. Now she spends her afterlife taking care of the room. Guests have reported items moved, luggage unpacked, and lights being turned on and off. They often find the man's luggage packed and left by the door. The staircase between floors in the hotel's lobby was named the Vortex. It is a tornado of spiritual energy. Guests report cold spots there and feeling dizzy on the stairs like someone has just walked right through them. Orbs have been caught on camera in this spot as well. Stanley and his wife have also been spotted watching over the hotel from the grand staircase. The spirit in the concert hall is Paul. Paul used to enforce the 11 p.m. curfew in the hotel's early days. Guests report someone telling them get out late at night. Guests on the 4th floor report hearing children running around, laughing and playing. The closet doors open and shut on their own. More than a century ago the entire 4th floor used to be an attic. Later it became lodging for female employees, children, and nannies. Room 428 has reports of the sound of footsteps and furniture moving around. There has been many reports of a cowboy who stands in the corner of the room. There even has been dogs' ghosts around the hotel. That's not even the beginning of the ghosts. There are so many ghosts in the hotel the list never ends. The Bourbon Orleans Hotel has a long history going back to 1817 when it was first built as the Orleans Ballroom by John Davis. In 1827 the ballroom became a meeting place for the state and House legislative. The success of the ballroom led John Davis to build the Orleans Theater on the adjacent plot of land. By 1881 both the ballroom and theater were bought by the Sisters of the Holy Family. It was used as a convent and a school and they remained the owners for more than 80 years. The property was then sold and they became the Bourbon Orleans Hotel. Is it said that a yellow fever epidemic struck New Orleans at the time that Holy Sisters owned it? Almost all the orphans at the time died from yellow fever, leaving their spirits to roam around the hotel till this day. Room 644 is the most haunted room in the hotel supposedly. It is said to be the room where one of the nuns of the Sisters of the Holy Family committed suicide. In this room. In that room is where the nun cries. Many guests have reported waking up in the morning and seeing a woman dressed as a nun standing next to the bed. In the ballroom under the chandelier you can even see the ghost of the woman dancing in a gown. She dances with an imaginary partner. It's also been reported that blood stains appear quite often on the carpeted floors. The staff cleans it even though they know it'll be back shortly. The stain is due to a duel that happened over a century ago. Two wealthy men fell for the same women and decided to fight during the ball party. Also there has been many reports of the Confederate soldier ghost. He has been spotted limping down hallways with a bloody tussled uniform scraping his sword down the walls of the hallways. Till this day it remains to be a popular ghost tour attraction for guests. Before the Emily Morgan Hotel was built on the grounds the Mexican forces battles Texas in the long barracks of the Alamo in 1836. Over 600 men lost their lives very close to the hotel. When originally built the location was the Medical Arts Building. It housed over 100 medical professionals. It was even believed to have a section for those who suffered from psychological conditions. The building also had a morgue and crematorium. In 1984 it became the Emily Morgan Hotel. The Emily Morgan Hotel is the most haunted hotel in Texas. The most haunted floors are the 7th floor, the 9th and the 14th floor. Staying on the 14th floor has reports of the whole floor smelling like a hospital. Guests claim that when they open doors on this floor it's a scene of the hospital. The 12th floor has reports of their bathroom doors opening and shutting on their own. In the dead of the night guests wake up to water running in the bathrooms. Others report to see flashing lights in their rooms, along with some people even seeing apparitions of nurses in the hallway pushing gurneys down the hall. It is said that the swimming pool was made out of the stainless steel from the medical operating tables. It is thought to be haunted by all the ghosts who died on the operating tables there. The elevators go up and down the floors without anyone on them as well. Once you enter the elevator it takes you on a ride past your floor and locks you in there for hours until help arrives. Front desk receptionists also say they receive calls from the elevators while no one is in them. The elevators are commonly known to bring guests down to the basement where the morgue used to be. The basement of the hotel is completely roped off to guests till this day. Even employees dread going down there. Employees report burning flesh scents in the basement along with orbs floating and noises of unknown people and objects. The 7th floor is reportedly haunted by a bride, and it is said to be the most haunted floor in the hotel. A woman's shrieks carry in Waihi dead of night, waking up sleeping guests. Whenever guests call down to the front desk to tell them about this, the front desk simply tells them it is most likely the ghost of the bride that lives on the 7th floor. Reports also are said to have seen apparitions of her walking through walls from room to room. On April 22, 1854, Harvey Parker purchased the rundown Miko Mansion on the corner of Tremont and School Street in Boston and demolished it. Parker then built a 5-story Italian-style stone and brick hotel. In 1855, the Parker House Hotel was finally completed and opened on October 8. In the 1860s, they expanded the hotel complex drastically and started taking over the block. Parker died in 1884 at 79 years old. The new owners bought it and renamed it the Omni House and rebuilt it in 1927. The hotel is located across the street from the historic King's Chapel and its graveyard, which is the oldest graveyard in Boston, also known to be haunted. The 10th floor of the hotel is said to be haunted by many ghosts, including Parker, the originally owner himself. There have been reports of him asking guests how their stay was, then vanishing in thin air. The 3rd floor is also reported to be haunted as to where the elevator would go to the 3rd floor to pick up guests who called for the elevator, but when the doors would open, no one would be there. Room 303 is one of the most well-known ghosts of the hotel. The story is that in 1949 a liquor salesman killed himself in his room by mixing whiskey with barbiturates. Guests have reported the smell of whiskey and the sound of laughter in the room. After repeated complaints from guests, the room was soon turned into a storage closet. There is also a mirror that is said to reflect the faces of those who have died in the hotel. Some guests won't even to near it, and many guests have refused to ever touch it, claiming they have seen them whom died in that very hotel.